The House comes to questions. For oral answer, question number 1, in the name of Alastair Scott.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, what changes is the government making to increase support for families in need from 1 April?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, from tomorrow the government's $790 million child hardship package comes into force. We are strengthening work obligations for beneficiary parents and providing additional childcare subsidies for low-income families, because the best thing we can do for these children is help their parents into work. Low-income working families will benefit from an increase in working for families of up to $24.50 per week. And for those who cannot get a job, benefit rates for families with children will rise by $25 a week after tax. The first such increase over and above inflation in 43 years.
Supplementary question, Alastair Scott.
To the Minister, how is the government supporting the creation of jobs to help people move from benefit and into work?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as I think one commentator said today, the New Zealand jobs machine just keeps chugging on. 175,000 more jobs in the last 3 years, with a further 173,000 expected by 2020, and unemployment a bit under 5.5%. At the same time, the annual average wage continues to rise, and in fact over the last 7 years it's risen 24% compared to inflation of 11%. These conditions of moderate wage increases and robust job growth create more opportunities for people to move off welfare and into work.
Supplementary question, Darroch.
The 110,000 families and 190,000 children that the government says will benefit after 1 April, how many of those families will actually receive $25?
Good question. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I can't give the member the exact number. As I said, it's an increase in working for families for up to $24.50. That, of course, depends on their income.
Order. I'm sorry to interrupt the member, but if the member asks a question, I expect he wants to hear the answer. Would he please listen to the answer without continually interjecting? I invite the Minister to commence his answer.
But in the case of families who are on a benefit, they will, with children, they will get an increase of $25 per week.
Supplementary question, Alastair Scott.
To the Minister, what other changes come into force on 1 April, cutting compliance costs for businesses and the self-employed? And what progress overall has been made since 2008 in reducing costs to business?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, probably the largest single area is in the payment of ACC levies. ACC's finances have been turned around since the mess they were in back in 2008, and the gains from this turnaround have been passed to employers, self-employed and vehicle owners. From tomorrow, ACC levies will fall by $232 million. Over the next 12 months, annual motor vehicle levies will be cut by $218 million. In total, ACC levy cuts in 2016 will see New Zealanders $450 million better off. Levies today are now $2 billion a year lower since 2008. That is $2 billion per year lower since 2008. That's the same cost as reducing the middle tax rate from 30 cents to 20 cents.
Supplementary question, Darroch Ball.
How can less than $1 a day for a family of 5 children make a real and meaningful increase in support for families in need?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it would depend. How much they get per day will depend on the family circumstances. But if they're a family on benefit with 5 children, they will get the $25 per week. And the member's free to ask them whether they think that's a waste of time or not. I suspect they will say they welcome the extra $25 because in in the world of very low family incomes, that's actually a fair bit of money.
Supplementary question, Alastair Scott.
To the Minister, what other changes is the Government making on 1 April to lift support for Kiwi households?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, alongside the big further cuts in ACC levies and the implementation of the hardship package, paid parental leave will increase from 16 to 18 weeks, which follows a boost from 14 to 16 weeks last year. The minimum wage will increase to $15.25 per hour. That's an increase of 3.4%, directly benefiting 152,000 workers, and superannuation and veterans' pensions will increase by 2.7%, affecting 600,000 superannuitants.
Question number 2.